This is the Washington Times front page for Thursday, March 5th, 2026. Thanks for joining us. I'm George Gerbo. A U.S. submarine sank an Iranian warship in international waters as the Pentagon signaled that the war with Iran will accelerate. Von Caucane and Andrew Salmon report U.S. Central Command said it had struck or sunk more than 20 Iranian warships since the conflict began Saturday. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and Joint Chiefs of Staff Chairman General Dan Kane said the U.S. would not let up in its attacks and that the Pentagon would move more valuable assets to the Middle East in the coming days. Iran's attrition strategy centers on missiles, drones, and allied interception capabilities. Specifically, its low-cost suicide drone swarms create challenges for defense systems, and its widening of the war to other Gulf states is intended to tap into deep political and religious tensions. The action in the Middle East has quickly evolved and escalated as the Senate rejected a war powers resolution that would have required President Trump to obtain congressional approval for any non-defensive military action against Iran. The measure failed by a vote of 47 to 53, mostly along party lines. A House report says Minnesota officials knew early in the COVID-19 pandemic that a major food assistance program had fraud issues, but feared the political fallout of a lawsuit. Stephen Dinan reports the House Oversight Committee said Minnesota officials were first told of problems in the program in April 2020, just weeks into the pandemic. State officials had the ability to cut off payments, but were reluctant to do so. At one point in March 2021, the state found a serious deficiency and suspended funding for Feeding Our Future, a children's meals program. It restored the money a month later. Darren Corte, who was assistant commissioner at the Minnesota Department of Education, the agency that oversaw the food program, told committee officials the state had the power to block new food distribution sites, but were afraid of being sued. More states are expanding programs letting parents spend public money on private schools. Sean Salai reports Georgetown University think tank Future Ed projects that universal school choice programs open to all families will be available this fall in 17 states, up from 10 states last year. Texas opened applications last month for what is expected to become the nation's largest program. Wyoming will do the same this fall, expanding eligibility for an education savings account program from low-income students to all families. Several education analysts credited President Trump, saying his pressure has helped overcome longtime Republican resistance in rural areas that lack private schools. And finally, a ruling from a Japanese court upheld the dissolution of the Family Federation for Peace and Unification, formerly known as the Unification Church. Ben Wolfgang and Andrew Salmon report the Tokyo High Court's decision ends a one-year appeal brought by the Family Federation over claims it solicited major donations, harmed public welfare, and violated social norms in Japan. The ruling marks the first time a Japanese religious dissolution order has been issued based solely on violations of the country's civil code. The Washington Times is owned by Operations Holdings Limited, a business subsidiary of the Federation. Find all of today's front page stories at WashingtonTimes.com/front page or on the Washington Times app, and find us wherever you get your podcasts. You can also find us on social media at Wash Times for breaking news, sports, commentary, and more. The Washington Times. I'm George Gerbo.